we are back. Welcome back to the Movie Review Teacher. We are back tonight, officially reviewing Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Now, when it comes to this movie, I left the theater thinking one thing, and that is, why are movies becoming such cash grabs? Now, what I mean by that, very simple, is this. You could tell really watching this movie that it was a big cash grab. The director himself even said that when the first movie was released, you really wanted to see what happened before deciding to make a second movie. And by making the second movie, he knew he was going to make a ton of money. Now let's look at the plot of this movie and what is it based off of. We are now after the events of the first movie. And because we are after the events of the first movie, our focus is now on Vanessa, Mike, and Abby. Now, Abby is our main point of this movie because her relationship with the animatronics really sets up what is going to take place on screen and really sets up the events throughout the hour and 45 minutes you watch this movie. Now, what really is interesting about this movie is the focus on Abby and the animatronics, and you really start to look at it from the perspective of who needs each other more. Does Abby need the animatronics more? Or do the animatronics need Abby? Now, as you watch this story play out, I'm not going to go into any spoilers because I think that ruins it. But we're going to get right into where this movie was good and where this movie was bad. Number one, I think putting the focus on Abby is a really smart decision because it at least gives you some young perspective in comparison to the events that have already taken place. So you've seen the first movie, you know that kids have been killed from the animatronics. But in movie number 2, by putting the perspective of Abby on the screen, you now get to see that maybe the animatronics aren't evil. Maybe they just need somebody different to help lead them through the whole situation and throughout their life, I guess. Whatever you want to call it. But then let's look at another thing. I think by adding Vanessa and having her focus be on the events of her life, I think that is a smart decision. Because while we understand what took place in the first movie, by having flashbacks to specific scenes, having a relationship with a particular person, obviously if you've seen the first movie, you know who I'm talking about, but that comes to the forefront in this movie, and I think that at least makes sense. It gives you something to buy into, it gives you something to understand, especially if you did not see the first movie. But then you have Mike. This is where the unique perspective comes into play because on one hand, you have him trying to help Vanessa, but on the other hand, you have him realizing that he's kind of been lying to Abby the whole time about the animatronics and really Freddys. So I think those three dynamics together make this movie at least somewhat maintainable and watchable. But I think one of the plots that really is done well is giving us flashback scenes to specific areas of, or let me rephrase that, not flashback scenes, but giving us the secrets that Freddy's really offers. Now, when you look at what Freddy offers in comparison to others, I'm not going to go into more of that aspect because that plays out on the screen. But I think by giving us the even darker secrets that Freddy holds, that it makes this movie at least somewhat engaging because now you're wondering, what else does this movie want to tell us? But then we get to the parts where it starts to kind of drift away and you start to get a little bit bored. Now, I will say this. I forgot to mention this a second ago. There are some parts in this movie where you're gonna laugh. I actually laughed a couple times. I think that was done well. Some of the comedy in it is useful to break up what you're seeing on the screen, but I have to go into that to say this. If you are looking for something that's going to be creepy and have you on the edge of your seat and really kind of scared for what's going to happen next, this movie did not provide that. You kind of already saw what was going to happen. You knew what the suspense was going to be because the screenshots and the cinematography of the movie, where they were aiming the camera, you could tell exactly what was about to happen. So I think if you were looking for something that was going to give you that suspense like the first movie did, I will give it credit. The first movie did have some aspects that were very suspenseful. Some obviously were not. But I think in movie number 2, it is lacking that a lot. You don't have that suspense. You don't have that eerie feeling because everything just shows up and it's there. I think another aspect of this movie that really struggles and it really was hard to buy into was almost the humanization of the animatronics. Once a specific scene happens, once again, I'm not going into spoilers, you start to see them almost take a human aspect of life and become something that they're really not. And so as you watch this movie and you're looking what is on the screen, you start to wonder, what is the purpose of that? Where is that going to factor into what is actually taking place? And I think that is a struggle that this movie had. But then we get into overall rating. Overall rating for this movie, for me, is a 2 out of 5. I feel like there's parts in the movie that make sense and are funny and you can buy into it. But I think when you look at this movie as a whole, it is missing so much more, so much, that the first movie had. I think another aspect of that rating goes into the first 40 minutes of the movie. The animatronics are not in it as much as you would expect. And I get that they're trying to build a story and they're trying to keep you entertained from that aspect and really set up what is to come. But honestly, when you don't have the animatronics and you're trying to make a movie about animatronics and they don't show up for 40 minutes, you wonder what is going to happen. I feel like the first movie was better. Movie number 2, I've already looked at what let's rephrase that again. Let's slow down. Let's look at the ratings that have already out. And it's around, one rating was like a 6 out of 10. One was at a 13%. One was at a 3 out of 10. And so you look at it and the early ratings are not very high. A lot of this seems like it is a cash grab. The director himself even said, if this first movie did well, we're going to make a second one. So you know how much money the first one made. I think it almost made $300 million. I could be a little bit wrong on that, but I think that was the last number I saw. So you look at a movie that makes almost $300 million on a $30 million budget, $35 million, you know you're going to try to find a way to make another one. So for me, Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is a 2 out of 5. It's a movie I would honestly wait till it hits streaming. It could have been better. It leaves you with a lot left on the table where you're wondering what's going to come next. I'm really, really hoping that this is the last. Is it going to be the last? Who knows? But I think even with this story, there is still something that a director will want to try and add to it. So thank you all for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Comment below. Did you like it? Have you seen it? Are you going to see it? Make sure to hit that subscribe button again as we continue to grow, learn, and really figure out this YouTube thing. Stay tuned for more videos coming. I'll talk to you all later.